Laws related to veterinary practice. Yes, there are laws and legal implications that are related to being a practicing veterinary medicine. The practice of veterinary medicine means receiving compensation for performing an act of diagnosis, treatment, correction, change, manipulation, relief, or prevention of animal disease, deformity, defect, injury, or other physical condition, including the prescription or administration of a drug, biologic anesthetic, apparatus, or other therapeutic or diagnostic substance or technique. The meaning of veterinary practice also includes the use of a title, words, or letters as identification for a veterinarian. So what that means is the use of the title doctor, or the use of the letters DVM, Doctor of Veterinary Medicine. When you graduate from vet school, that title, those letters, and that word is bestowed on you when you graduate a College of Veterinary Medicine and become a veterinarian. The Veterinary Licensing Act in each state serves to protect the public. The acts require veterinarians who practice medicine to meet certain standards and to obtain a valid veterinary license from the state. They also prohibit practice by persons not qualified and licensed in veterinary medicine. So this kind of, each state sets their standard for what it is to become a veterinarian. The Licensing Act provides for the administration of standards by creating a state board of veterinary medical examiners. And yes, Texas does have one of those. The board, a group of competent veterinarians and non-veterinarians, is appointed by the governor. They receive the applications and examines the applicants before issuing licenses. Again, to be a doctor of veterinary medicine, you do have to have a license to practice this. The Veterinary Practice Act, or the Board of Examiners, may determine the subjects tested in the license examination. In addition, the state law will usually define the following: practice of veterinary medicine, acceptable veterinary medical schools, in which Texas has one school that you can get a veterinary license from, and yes, that is Texas A&M University. The qualifications other than educational requirements and fees required for issuance and renewal of licenses, and the grounds, penalties, and procedures for the revocation and suspension of a license. Yes, once you are given a license, you can have that license taken away from you if you are practicing any or engaging in any kind of malpractice or things outside of the scope of what you're licensed to do. Common exceptions in the Licensing Act include the following: animal owners and their employees. That'd be like ranch owners and stuff. I mean, they own their animals, so I mean, they can, I guess, technically take care of them the best way they see fit. Persons performing accepted livestock management practices, such as things like dehorning cattle, castrating cattle. Those are all accepted livestock management practices that people that are non-veterinarians can do on their own. That's just managing their livestock. How to state veterinarians when consulting with a licensee: veterinary students, United States Department of Agriculture veterinarians, and veterinary assistants under the supervisions of a veterinarian. Responsibilities. The veterinary assistant is usually considered an agent of the veterinarian when he or she is in the employment of a veterinarian. The law usually recognizes that the employer is responsible for the performance of the employee while the employee is doing work for the employer. So what that means is you work as a veterinary assistant under the direction of a veterinarian. and the way that you do your job, conduct yourself, and the things that you do have a direct correlation to the veterinarian. Okay, so he or she basically, in essence, is responsible for you and the way that you carry out your job duties. Because a person cannot legally practice veterinary medicine without a licensed veterinarian cannot delegate to another any duty that would be defined as the practice of veterinary medicine, such as prescribing medicine, veterinary assistants, and they don't do that. However, an assistant may give shots, apply dressings, and carry out certain other duties if he or she is acting with the direct instructions from and under the supervision of the veterinarian. The assistant is not practicing veterinary medicine, but merely following and carrying out the instructions of the veterinarians, who is responsible for the assistant's actions. A veterinarian is responsible for the veterinarian's own actions and is directly responsible to the client for the care and treatment of the patient. And things like giving shots, dressing wounds, those are common animal management practices, and not really practicing medicine. The practice of medicine would be like prescribing certain drugs for the treatment of a condition. Whether the actions performed amount to unlicensed veterinary medicine depends on the local and state customs, the degree of directions and instructions given by the veterinarian, and the specific nature of the duty and skill of the assistant. Without the protection of liability insurance or the State Workmen's Compensation Act, the veterinarian may be liable for injuries an employee receives during employment. However, the determination of liability conforms to common law rules of negligence. The common law rules of negligence are enforced with the following consideration. Was the employee also at fault? Did another employee cause or contribute to the injury? And was the injury due to a dangerous tool or a machine that the employee normally uses? Example. A veterinary assistant is injured by a knife, needle, or dog or horse and could not hold his employer liable unless the veterinarian contributed to the injury. A dog bites a vet tech or bites an assistant. Okay, the veterinarian did not contribute to that, so the veterinarian is not going to be held liable. Another example, let's say the vet assistant or the vet tech accidentally cuts themselves with a knife or pokes themselves with a needle, which happens. That person couldn't hold the veterinarian responsible if the veterinarian did not directly cause or contribute to the injury. That's just part of the job. And it's kind of like the user assumes the risk when he or she accepts the job. And all jobs come with certain things that can happen. And when you take on this job, you assume the risk that you might be bitten by a dog, you could be kicked by a horse, so on and so forth. Other regulations. Many other laws and regulations pertain to the veterinary practice. Veterinarian and client relations, negligence and malpractice, local, state, and federal animal disease laws, food and feed laws, livestock and fence laws, narcotic, drug, medicine, biologic serum, and pesticide regulations, radiation safety laws, big one in veterinary medicine. It is recommended that the student pursue the study of these laws and regulations with the aid of the supplemental references as time. Okay.